Good evening, everyone. My name is Iceman. Uh, Welcome back to my desktop. um, uh, First thing I'm going to say before anything else is I just want to get it clear, out of the way. This video will most likely be extremely boring. So basically, what uh, this video is for those people who might be interested in the uh, well, I call it the fan fiction story, but it's not really a fan fiction. It's more just a fictional fantasy story. Um, but it's not necessarily a fan fiction because most of it has to do with Daz. But uh, so I'm just gonna say what I'm gonna be doing essentially is giving information about the story. So that's what I'm gonna do. I will be um, playing some music in the background for you guys, so that it's not completely boring. Oh shit! I forgot to turn it on. Right. Okay. So link will be in the description below for the creator of this single here. Um, so what I'm gonna be doing is basically like over time I've been thinking of basically what this is I'm going to be giving backstory, and through the video I'm going to be explaining my fanfiction. I keep calling it fanfiction, but it's really not. It's really like a God damn it. It's really a fiction based complete story. um, Fantasy story in reality is what it is. Uh, that's cool. But I don't need to do that on DAS. There we go. Okay, so essentially this is my DeviantArt page. I'm going to just maximize this. This is my DeviantArt page here. And, I've been thinking about, I wasn't sure, because first of all, the fiction story that I've been thinking about coming up with over this last year and a half or so is huge. Number one. Number two, the thing about it is what I'm gonna be like. It's huge. It's a huge story. To be quite honest, it doesn't really have a beginning or an end. It kind of goes on with time, so I'm gonna keep adding stuff more and more. So it's kind of like a real life thing. It's not really a story that ends. It's just kind of weird, but it's really hard to explain. Basically, it's such a large universe, realm, or whatever you want to call it. Such a large universe, such a large story, that that typing out the story and what I have so far would be too time consuming, or like it would take too much time and way too much work, and it would be very difficult to do, and it would be very, very slow and error prone. So so because it's such a large fiction concept, story, whatever, because it's so large, I've decided to, instead of typing up a backstory in text for you guys to read, leading up to all this stuff and what I have so far, instead of typing in a backstory, which essentially the backstory would, be very detailed. Instead of typing it in text for you guys to read, which would take me probably, I would estimate, of constant work, it would, every single day, all day long, it'd probably take me to type everything out and make sure everything is correct. Probably take me about a full week to type out just the backstory. That's how large this is, and how diverse it is. So, therefore, I've decided to give you the backstory through this video, just through audio, essentially, me speaking, because, again, if I try to type all this out, I mean, that's way too much work. I mean, like, you'd be to get the backstory, you'd probably be surfing through the full backstory and everything so far. I would say at least 20, probably 20 full pages of 8.5 by 11 documents, pages. 20 full pages of that. Just being the backstory. So, yeah, it's really big. So, all of it is very loosely explained in some of my videos and through DeviantArt here, in like little bits and pieces, and it doesn't really have any organization. So I'm gonna try to fix that here in this. So basically, first of all, what is the title of this? What is the title of this whole story, essentially, that really never ends? What's the title of it? Well, the title of this is known as The Narcissus. And I'm not trying to reference the Narcissus as far as like Greek. This is not Greek mythology I'm talking about here. This is totally custom. This, I mean, the title is The Narcissus, but it has nothing to do with Greek mythology. So it's not going that route. So this is a fantasy realm here. So what is the Narcissus? Essentially, it is really, instead of like being a story, this is more of a universe. It's a universe. Essentially, that's how big it is. So the Narcissus is an entire universe, and it's really unknown what exactly it is. No one knows what it is. They just know that they're in the Narcissus. So basically, the whole point is it's just a giant universe. And essentially, if you're curious how big this actually is, what I've been trying to do is, I don't know if you've noticed in some of my YouTube videos way back on KHX Infinite Gaming, I don't know if you noticed, but there were some videos where I don't know if you caught it, but sometimes I would say, like, every time I would play a new game, I would say something along the lines of, especially in MMO, like Blade and Soul is a good example. When I played Blade and Soul, my character that I started playing as, I forgot his name and everything, but my Blade and Soul character that I was playing as, essentially what I was doing was I said something along the lines of, this guy will be in my fan fiction. That's essentially what I was saying. This guy would be in my fan fiction, or I'm gonna this character's gonna be an addition to my story or something like that. I say, I say stuff like that in those vids. Specifically, what I'm talking about is like,
I knew, like,
yeah. Let's see. Not even work. The hell? Oh, what the fuck? I hope other people don't see this. Shit, that wouldn't be good. Fuck. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Alright, I actually have to fucking... God damn it. Alright, so... Fuck, so itchy, man. Alright, so play this. Does this work? Okay, thank fuck. Okay. Alright, so... Good example is... yeah, Blade and Soul. So when I was playing this, there were times in there where when I met my character, I'd be like, yeah, this guy is going to be in the fanfiction. Another example is Riders of Icarus. This guy will be in the fanfiction as well. So Riders of Icarus, completely different game, completely different realm, whatever. My character... shit, I forgot about this. What's my guy's name? Fuck, where is he? There he is. What I name him? Oh, really? That goth dude. Okay, so I still don't know exactly what I'd be naming it. Probably Gothan, yeah. Whatever. So, yeah, so he's supposed to be gothic as fucking emo and shit. That's the whole point with him. But, he will be, he's in the Narcissus. Instead of calling it the fanfiction, I should call it the Narcissus. He is in the Narcissus. Again, the guy in Blade and Soul is in the Narcissus, and, the guy from the Old Republic that I chose to play as, he's in the Narcissus. Even my Revelation online character is in the Narcissus. Well, actually not this one, this is the old shit. This one! A series remake, there we go. This is, this guy's, in the Narcissus too. So all these characters are in the Narcissus, including and especially in the DC Universe vids, such as starting from Isania. So Isania is in the Narcissus too. So essentially, what's happening is all of these characters in all of these games that I'm playing, and new games that I'm playing and finding and shit. All these characters, many of them made up, in MMOs and shit, like, Isania or Abadania, Elijah, all these characters, from many different types of games, even what shit, where is it? Mass Effect, where is that? Where's my Mass Effect? Oh, there it is. Okay. Staring me right in the face. Okay, so so my Mass Effect character is in the sorry, I'm really tired, so I can't really think well. In the universe as well. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking all these characters and this especially includes my Gothic Elsa. So my Gothic Elsa is in the Narcissus. You know, all I'm taking all these characters, fantasy characters and stuff, from all these different games and movies and stuff like that, and I'm combining them all into one universe. That's essentially what I'm doing. That's the idea. Taking all these characters and putting them in one universe so they can all meet each other, and you know, who knows what happens. Um, and includes Kingdom Hearts characters. So I mean, all these games, Narcissus is basically the entire universe of all of it. It's all of these characters, all of it. Kingdom Hearts, Mass Effect, custom characters from MMOs like Gothan, Isenia from DC Universe, Abadania, Elijah. Um, uh, uh, there's so many characters. There's a lot of characters. Especially, um, well, what I'll get into in a sec, but my dad's characters. Um, you know, all this is, you know, it's partly a fan fiction in the sense that the characters from like Mass Effect and Kingdom Hearts and stuff are in the universe. That in that sense, it's a fan fiction, but in the sense of like the dad's characters, it's more in the sense of my dad's characters, it's really a complete fiction. But again, I don't really know what you would classify it as because it's really instead of like an actual just story, it's more of a universe where um, anything happens, and over time, I add things to it. Um, uh, you know that might interest me or something like that. Um, but essentially, what I'm going to do here is give you the backstory, and so I'm going to move gallery here. Um, so yeah, some of these are really, really terrible, especially the 3D light ones, because, well, 3D light is, and this is Daz what I'm talking about here. 3D light is not always the best, um, as you can see. But essentially, if you want an actual like backstory, if anything, it starts. If you want it to start anywhere, it starts. Where does it start? Fuck. It essentially like starts here, but Elsa is like this. This one here, warm snow against the cool sun. This is part of the Narcissus as well. See, excerpt from the Narcissus. Um, it's an extremely broad like idea, concept, whatever. Um, but I'll just read this one to you guys real quick. So, but if you want like a more of a back story, see, this is the Mass Effect here. So okay, so it again, it's bits and pieces, so you have to like look in different places to find and piece it together yourself, which I hate. So I'm trying to do it for you guys in one video here, so it's an organized fashion. But so like it says here, note the actual story Mass Effect and my fanfiction universe, the Narcissus, is completely different, but has some similar aspects in certain areas. So, and what I say is this character is my alternate state, just like Elsa has two states of her own. Let me explain that. First of all, I myself am in the Narcissus, essentially. I basically put myself in the story, or in the universe. I put myself in the universe as well, so I'm part of it. if you want like the basics on like, see, it's all in pieces, so I have to really think here. It's very difficult. Let's see, is there anything here, or is this an image? Yep, just an image. It's about this here. No, okay. Alpha. That was fine. This embrace, I think it was just an image. Yes, that was just an image. Image, yep, image. Alright. So some of them don't have anything. This one is a very, very important one. So I'll get to this. And basically I'm going to go up through the pictures here. So, but first I'm just going to say, like, in my vids, I keep talking about this Gothic Elsa and all this, right? You're probably thinking, what the hell, Ice, what the hell is Gothic Elsa? Well, see, this is where it gets very detailed and confusing. In the most basic sense, holy hell, some of these are god awful. Jesus, can't believe I fucking rendered these and posted these. Holy shit, it's embarrassing. Anyways, this one I like though. This was actually pretty cool. I like this still. So you're probably wondering, who is Gothic Elsa? Well, that is Gothic Elsa. And in a more realistic sense, there we go. So yeah, okay. So this is Gothic Elsa here. So who is Gothic Elsa? What is it? Okay. Essentially, in reality, it all ties back. It all ties back and is rooted from Frozen, the movie. Okay. But essentially what I did, the Narcissus started out as a basic fan fiction of Elsa and her sister. There was no Gothic Elsa or anything like that. I was trying to figure out, what fan fiction I could create. And then, I was, having writer's block, creator's block, whatever you want to call it, whatever. And I couldn't figure out what to do. And then, I was playing other games and I thought, maybe this guy seems pretty cool. Maybe I should add him to the story, whatever. And slowly I started adding all these characters and stuff, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. So this, I titled this Elsa's Similar State. So you're probably wondering, what the hell does that mean? Well, in the most basic sense, in the Narcissus universe, Elsa here, Queen Elsa, has two states. Basically, it's basically two. She has two forms essentially. In the Narcissus universe, Elsa is Elsa. So she has two. She has two states. One is, or the first state is the one you all know and love, which is this one essentially. The ice magic and all that shit. Oh, what the hell? I did not. What the fuck? Is there? Did I not? Did I do one without? Okay, whatever. Okay, so there's a comparison. So there's a comparison image. I'll just find Why can't I find it? This one here. Essentially. Is there a bigger bit? Here's an idea. Kind of getting off track just a little bit. Oh, fuck, what was that? That was really cool. I saw something below, and I don't know what it was. Shit. Damn it. Something, it was a really beautiful image. There we go. Ha! Wanted, okay, whatever. But, okay, so this essentially, is her normal state, okay? This is, as Elsa calls it, her queen state. So, this is her queen state. The one you all know and love, ice magic, all this shit, all that shit, blah, 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 whatever, okay? That's her, I keep saying normal state. That is her queen state. Whereas, this one is her second state, her similar state. She sometimes calls it her alt state, for alternate state, or alternate form. This is her Gothic form, essentially. So you're probably wondering, what the hell does that mean? Well, backing up just a little bit. First of all, in the Narcissus universe, Elsa is a goddess. Elsa's a, she's an immortal goddess, for one exception, but I'll get to that later. You see how big this is? But Elsa is a goddess. Like, I mean, like in the movie Frozen, she has ice powers, right? She's gifted with ice powers or whatever. In the Narcissus universe, she's actually a goddess. So in the Narcissus universe, Elsa has the ice powers and everything you're all used to. Everyone's used to, you know, the ice powers, magic, singing, whatever. Okay. Oh fuck. You know, she's all that's the same. The difference is she's a goddess. She's immortal. And she has a different state. And so, in the Narcissus universe, Elsa's a goddess. Her sister Anna is also a goddess. Anna is also immortal. Gifted from Elsa. Basically, to cut a very long story short, Elsa in the Narcissus universe is the most powerful goddess in the entire universe. In really all the universes. Like, she's the most powerful. She is the most powerful goddess who basically, I mean, she can do literally whatever. And by that I mean whatever. Like, essentially in the Narcissus universe, she controls, you know, time, she controls existence, she controls, like, I mean, she's literally the, you know, some people might think of it as, I don't know if this is right, some people might think of it as that higher being. Essentially in the Narcissus universe, Elsa is that higher being. She's that, you know, goddess. Oh shit, I forgot this was up. Yeah, don't mind this. Forgot I had Daz running. Anyways, so basically, she is the most powerful goddess. Um, Elsa is immortal, except for one exception. Anna's immortal. She's also a goddess. So essentially, Elsa wields two powers, essentially, in the Narcissus universe. Anna also wields a power. Anna wields fire only. So, ice and fire, right? Kind of. Uh, Elsa essentially wields ice. Uh, in her queen state, she wields ice, and Anna wields fire. So, they both they're both goddesses and they're both immortal, except for Elsa, for one exception. Um, and essentially, her two states are, well, I already told you, the Queen state and the Gothic state, alternate state. So the Queen state, you all know and love, and you've seen, it's everything from the movie, right? Her alternate state is where things get pretty dope. In her alternate state, or Gothic state, Elsa doesn't wield ice. She wields black magic. And when I say black magic, I mean like black magic, like dark magic. Dark magic, stuff you would see, like, think of Lord of the Rings. Think of Lord of the Rings, when, think of Lord of the Rings, or something like that, or, when, all the dark magic in there, or, think of Aragon, where, Durza has, I think I said that right. Durza has, he has dark magic. The guy, the red-haired guy and shit, who wields dark magic in that movie. That is a very precise, accurate explanation of what Elsa can do, or wields, is that dark, deadly, dangerous, bad shit, apparently. That's what many people would say. The dark, evil, stuff that is not looked at as, I don't know. I don't even know what the word would be, but like dark, bad, the bad shit. In her alternate state, she wields that. However, the good news is, even though she wields black magic in that state, she only uses it for good, essentially. So even though Elsa's got black magic and all this insane power, she never really, she can control it, and essentially she's got a good heart and a good soul, and whatever you want to say. She can never be corrupted, if that makes sense. She can never really corrupt herself. I mean, technically she could, but she would have to, like, I don't even know, but like she would not use that. It's not in her nature to use that for bad purposes. So it's not in her nature to use any of it for bad purposes. It's important. Oh shit! It's important to note that both Elsa and Anna, even though they're goddesses and they're immortal and they have powers, um, neither of them, neither Elsa nor Anna, and by the way, Anna only has one state. She only has, she doesn't have two states. Elsa's the only one in the entire Narcissus universe that has two actual complete forms, states of being. Um, Even though they're both goddesses and they have all this power, they don't like to use it really ever. You know, um, Elsa does not. I mean, she only uses her power if she absolutely needs to. But she would do anything. She would do anything that she can naturally to not use her power. Any of her powers, even her ice magic. She doesn't want to use her ice magic either. She doesn't want to use any of her magic at all. Um, and Anna does not want to use any of her magic at all either. Essentially, the girls are both extremely emotional, and they don't like the fact that they are goddesses and um, immortal, what have you. They don't like that. So they essentially feel that out of place. They feel like because they're goddesses and they're immortal or whatever, that they're not human and they're not accepted or whatever. So essentially, this universe gets really deep as far as like emotions and stuff. Elsa is very, very sensitive. Anna the same. Although Anna's, well, I'll get to her later. Yeah. um, but like they're essentially both of them are there for good, and they just, I don't know, they don't like. They don't like the fact they have powers. Anyways, Elsa is none of the girls like the fact that they're goddesses, and they feel out of place. They want to be as human as possible. I mean, but the thing is, they are human. It's just they have powers to the extent that they're goddesses. Um, um, so, oh fuck, dude, I am so tired. Um, so the Gothic Elsa here, essentially, her two states are the same. So, like, talking about Elsa and her two states, Elsa, again, is the strongest goddess there is. She essentially controls existence and time and everything, really. Um, she has power over all, really. But she doesn't like that fact. And she really can't do anything about it, unfortunately. But so Elsa's two states. The important thing to note about Elsa's two states is Elsa. Her two states are exactly the same, but for one or a few exceptions, like what? Okay, so an important thing to know is, as far as Elsa's states go, nobody will ever see Elsa's both of Elsa's states at the same time. Elsa's states, two states, they're different forms of the same person. So it's basically, it's not a clone of Elsa. It's Elsa, but two forms of her. And um, essentially, Elsa can switch to either state whenever she wants. Um, but in reality, like the two states are linked to each other. The two states are linked to each other, and um, they coexist at the same time. So essentially, you can have the regular Elsa. Like you can have the regular, like Elsa could have both of her states in the same room. So you could have the Gothic Elsa and the regular Elsa in the same room together, coexisting together as the same person but separate entities. Like, you know, the regular Elsa will be doing one thing and the Gothic Elsa will be maybe doing something else. Like, for example, the regular Elsa might be sleeping on a bed, whereas the Gothic Elsa is in the same room, I don't know, putting on makeup. But they're the same person. It's just, it's two entities linked to each other. The important thing to remember, though, is um, nobody. The important thing to remember is no one, not even me in the Narcissus universe, nobody, nobody will ever see, or nobody is able to, and will never be able to see both states of Elsa in the same at the same exact time. So let's say I'm in my room here. Um, the Gothic Elsa is right here. You know, Gothic Elsa is right here. Regular Elsa is right here. I would only be able to see one or the other, depending on which one she, you know, wants to show. Essentially, one is visible, the other is invisible to everyone other than herself. So Elsa herself is the only one who can see both states at the same time. So, you know, she can look down and know that she is in her Gothic state, and she can turn her head and look across the hall and see that her regular state is across the hall. She'll be able to see that. And if she wants, she can switch over. Oh shit. She can switch over to her regular state. And same thing will happen. You know, she'll be in her regular state, she'll see she's you know, has the ice powers or whatever. She can look to the right, look down the hall, and she'll see her Gothic state. They're linked to each other, and they always will be. It's a connection. It's a coexistence of Elsa. Again, it's not a clone. It's Elsa linked, basically divided into two entities. Two complete separate entities, but they are the same person. Again, she's immortal, for one exception. Both her states, because it's still the same person, it's still Elsa, she can't die in either state. Again, except for one exception, which I will get into later. Her regular state is immortal, and her alternate state is immortal as well. if for whatever reason the that one exception occurs, um, uh, Elsa will be vulnerable in both states, and if one state gets hurt, the other state feels the effect because they're linked. Okay, it's a link. It's a I um uh I it's a fuck. What'd you call it? Because remember, again, I'm in the fan fiction myself, so I'm talking to Elsa and whatever. So I'm relaying information to and from whatever, and she um, said that it's um, that the exact linkage between her two states is known as a soul bind. So it's basically the soul split into two and binded. Um, Essentially, I mean, I can't really describe it very well because she didn't describe it very well. So, um, essentially, but yeah, so she she's soul binded with both states, and again, no one, not even Anna, can see both Elsas at the same time. She will see one or the other. Elsa herself is the only one who can see um, her other, uh, other form at the same time, and they can talk to each other. You know, it's like two minds, but it's one. It's one person, but it's two entities. It's two entities of the same person, both doing their own thing. But essentially, essentially, they're both separate, but they're both the same in the sense that, you know, her um uh her regular state is essentially um shit, how would I really explain this? See how detailed and confusing this is? If I had to type this out, this would be nearly impossible. Um, uh, Basically, if, like, her being split into two entities, they're separated. So, the regular Elsa, the one with the ice powers and all that, um, she is um, like like she is completely separate from the Gothic version. Okay, two states, two completely separate entities, all the way down to different personalities and different goals and stuff like that. So literally, it's on the outside. There's two completely separate Elsas, but on the inside, in reality, at the core, it's still one Elsa because of that soul bind. If that soul bind wasn't there, there'd be two completely separate Elsas, and like I don't even know what the hell that would be, but uh, that would, I don't know, chaos. I don't know, whatever. But um, you might be wondering, okay, well, if they're soulbound, who has who if they're two separate entities, couldn't they if they have different personalities and stuff, couldn't they like fight each other? Technically, they could kind of, but not really, because they both know that they're the same person. They both know that there's like the regular Elsa knows about her alternate state. The alternate state of Elsa knows about her regular state. And what happens is, um, in reality, Elsa's alternate state is the one who has ultimate control of her entire being, her entire soul. Elsa, the alternate state of Elsa, has her control over her entire being. So, if necessary, the Gothic version of Elsa, the one you see here, this one, her Gothic state, can completely control and take function of the regular state directly because it's soulbound. She doesn't do that because she doesn't need to, but just so you guys have the idea that if something were to happen to the regular state, like the reason Elsa's regular state, um, the reason Elsa's uh, regular state is immortal and goddess and can't die is because of her alternate state. Because Elsa's alternate state is, um, you know, essentially, Elsa's alternate state is the goddess, the powerful goddess, the the one that rules everything, you know, um, has all the ultimate power over the universe or whatever. Okay, um, she is, uh, um, her alternate state is what has power of all of it. Um, her regular state, the one you guys all know and love, is essentially a that essentially is a derivative of this state. So the regular state that you all know and love, right? Ice magic, all that, is really a subpart of this. So in essence, this is her regular state. In essence, this is her regular state, because if something happens to this state, both states would be non-existent. So this essentially, Elsa's regular state, Elsa gets her ice magic. Elsa gets her ice magic. Her her you know her rank of goddess or whatever, essentially, she gets all of that. She's immortal. She has her ice powers and all of that because of her alternate this state, because of her Gothic state. Remember, they're soul linked. Again, they're the same person. They're still Elsa. They're the same person, but they're the same person, but just split into two. Um, like the way. Oh, fuck. I just realized. Sorry to go a little off topic, but I just realized. I just remembered that I actually did have a start, an actual start to this story. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, folks. actually did have a start to the Narcissus. Um, uh, okay. Basically, in the universe itself, the regular Elsa you know, all know and love, she did not know about her that she had an alternate state. So if we back up to the roots, actually, you know what? Let me continue. Let me continue with what I was saying because it'll make sense if I talk about the alternate state here and Elsa, the other Elsa being a derivative, and then explaining how she found out about her other state. Because again, they're two separate entities, but they're um, they're soul bound. Their soul is one, so they're linked. Uh, so basically, the Gothic Elsa here, um, in the Narcissus universe, the Gothic Elsa here basically created everything, essentially, at its most basic form. Um, so the legend says. Um, basically, you know, um, Elsa's alternate state is like this state, as you see here, is the goddess. This is the powerful one, the black, black magic, all that stuff, right? Um, essentially, what happened was this state here of Elsa was so powerful because she is the most powerful that she decided to. Basically, what I'm saying is how the regular Elsa was formed. How the regular Elsa was formed. So the one you guys all know and love from the movie. In my Narcissus universe, the regular Elsa you guys all know and love was formed and derived from this root here, if you will. Um, essentially, like the way, like in the movie, everyone's wondering, like how did she get her ice powers or whatever. Well, in my Narcissus universe, she got her powers from here, from her alternate state. Now and essentially what this Elsa did was I guess she figured, um, well, I have all this power, but I mean, this is a bit too much. Like, um, this is a lot of power, um, that I've got. I can do really anything I want. Um, but she didn't like that. Um, so she didn't like that. So she thought, okay, what if I kind of divide, or how can I get rid of some of the amplitude of power? Like, how, like, so that I still have it, it's just not, you know, not, uh, not so strong that it would, cause any damage. So what she did was she decided to, damn it, I don't remember what she called it. She, so this also that you see on the screen, decided to let go of some of her power. Essentially, what she did was she essentially created and performed a her own ritual, and I don't remember what she called it. Aha, the the arsenic ritual, the arsenic ritual, as she called it. So, the arsenic ritual, essentially, she didn't give any details, and I honestly don't really want to know any details because it's like the fact that she was able to do this in the first place scared the shit out of me. But essentially, what the arsenic ritual is she performed that, and what it did was it basically she took her own soul and she split it into two parts. She split it into two parts. And she the part that she split it into, she made a completely separate entity. And then she soul linked those two parts to herself, with her in this state having the ultimate control. So essentially, she split herself into two parts, and the Elsa that you guys all know and love was formed from that ritual. So the Elsa you guys all know and love in reality is a sub part of this one. Okay? And this Gothic Elsa did not like the fact that she did not like the fact that you know, she didn't want anyone to see her as, you know, evil or bad or anything, or you know, she kind of essentially went into hiding a little bit, and she decided, like, she knew that she was herself essentially, but she wanted to she wanted the other state, the regular state, the one you guys all know and love. She wanted that state to be essentially the regular state. She did not want society, you know, she didn't want the entire Narcissus universe seeing seeing her in her dark alternate state. So essentially, she kind of went into hiding and just overviewed her regular state. And again, she made her regular state a separate entity, but again, it's soulbound. And you know, if you're wondering, why does the regular state have ice magic? Well, the reason Elsa got her powers, and the reason she's a goddess and immortal or whatever, is because of this state. If it wasn't, if this did not, if her alternate state, which is in reality her regular state, if her alternate state did not, like, if her alternate state did not exist, the regular state definitely would not exist. Like, nothing would exist, really. I don't even know what would happen then, but essentially, this state here, is the ultimate power over both states. Um, but again, in many ways, the regular state is separate from this state. So they're the same person because they're soulbound. And essentially, when the regular Elsa was formed, um, she she had no idea of, that she had an alternate state. She had no idea. So this is um, this is kind of how, uh, like, again, I said this state, the alternate state, went into hiding. She didn't like she made her um, she created her her regular state. Okay, she created her regular state, but she didn't want again. She did not want anyone to know that she even existed. That her alternate state even existed. She didn't want anyone to know about her dark magic abilities or whatever. So, and she didn't even want her similar her other her regular state. She didn't want that to know about that. She was derived. Um, so in many ways, the regular state the regular state of Elsa, she has a mind of her own completely. But they're essentially the same person in that they're soulbound. Their soul is the same thing. It's just split into two. This is why the alternate state has this state has extremely powerful magic, and the regular state only has ice magic. Because, ice magic, Elsa, I guess, uh, um, that was, I guess, the power she wished to, you know, um, forfeit. Um, so she split that away from herself here and put it in her regular state. And again, since they're soulbound, and this is essentially the creator here, if you will, her alternate state here can at any time completely control the regular state. But she doesn't do that because she doesn't want to. And essentially in reality, what she'd be doing is she'd be controlling herself more, and she doesn't really want to do that. It's very hard to explain. Basically, the regular state when she was created, she did not know that she had an alternate state. She never knew why she had ice powers or whatever, okay? And legend, well, not legend because this is what Elsa told me in this state. She told me that that her regular state finally found out that she was derived from this one. And the way this worked, or the way this happened, was if I remember, I think Queen Elsa, her queen state. Oh my gosh, her queen state, her regular state. She was walking down away from the castle into the Forbidden Forest, and I guess, according to Elsa, when she got deep into the forest, she got lost, and then I guess, I don't know, something happened, and like Elsa started getting, or the regular state started getting really depressed really fast, not understanding really anything. You know, why was she there? What was she doing? Whatever. She got really disoriented, and uh, this Elsa told me that um, this also told me that she noticed that the regular state was questioning her existence and all this stuff, right? Which to this state is kind of like, oh shit, I'm gonna be made here. Um, so I guess Elsa, the alternate state here, I guess got up enough courage to say, okay, she'll probably find out anyway, and in reality, it's just me. You know, in reality, you know, Elsa. It's really Elsa telling Elsa that she is Elsa. So it's Elsa telling herself who she is in reality. It's telling that other part of her who she is, that she exists. And essentially, what happened was, I guess the alternate version here summed up enough courage to kind of, instead of like showing herself, she rendered herself into more of a telepathic entity, voice, whatever. And um, she whispered she whispered to her queen state directly, and this scared her queen state. You know, her regular state, the one you all know and love. This scared her. She was like, "Oh shit! What's going on? You know, like this is like really scary." And this state, calmed her down, saying, "Do not be alarmed. It's okay." Uh, and essentially, long story short, this state explained that she basically explained everything I'm trying to explain, or that I explained before. You know, the regular state is a derivative of this state. So she was basically, this state was saying um, to her other state that she's basically saying, there's more of you, but you don't realize it. There's more of you in existence that you do not realize, and I am that other part. And this calmed the regular state, and I guess the way Elsa puts it, she ended up physically showing herself to her other state. So she decided to muster up, sum up, enough energy to display herself in front of her queen state in that forest. And that, I guess, tied the bond between the two states, in that both of them knew that each one actually existed. I mean, well, like, this one already knew that her regular state existed, but her regular state did not know that this existed. So her regular state, the one you all know and love, didn't know she had a alternate counterpart. And this one, the alternate counterpart, said, basically explained to her regular part that she was explaining that, how she got her powers, and that the reason she has powers, the reason she has ice magic and all that stuff, is because of this. And she made it clear that in reality, that she made it clear what I'm trying to explain in excruciating detail, which I'm probably doing horrible of, which is the regular Elsa, the queen state, is the queen state and the alternate state are the same exact person. In essence, they are the same person. If push comes to shove, this state will control the regular state. But she would never ever need to do that because, like, there's no reason to. It's the same person. Why would she need to? Why would she need to control, specifically override another part of herself? You know, it's still her. She's still the same person. So, um, essentially, the way the Elsa you guys all know and love was created was because um, was because the um, because this version, the alternate version, didn't like the fact she had so much power, and so she decided to um, to perform the Arsalic ritual, which essentially split her soul into two, and essentially the result of that is the Queen State, the regular Elsa. That's her. That's that state, um, and she decided to give that one the ice magic, which, according to this state, um, according to her, she wanted to forfeit that and give that to the other state. But keep in mind that this alternate state in reality has complete control. So even though this alternate state does not have ice magic directly, like, she does not, she can't, like, even though this alternate state that you see here doesn't have ice powers, cannot do ice magic, and it's just black magic. Like, she can do any magic she wishes at all. Except for ice magic. But keep in mind that the two states are soulbound. So, in reality, if absolutely necessary, this Elsa can feed off the power of ice, the magic of ice, from her regular state for use in her alternate state if she needs to. But keep in mind, again, no one will ever see both states in the same place, ever. Only Elsa herself can see both states at the same time. You know, essentially, if they're in the same room together, to everyone else, including Anna herself, even though she's really powerful, Anna will see one or the other. And Anna already knows about her alternate state. She knows about both states already. It's just the regular state didn't know about that she had a counterpart. Okay, so that is basically how her regular state was created. And so that's how the two states are connected soulbound, through that ritual. And before I go on, I'm just going to say one thing, and that is again, I'm in the fanfiction, I'm in the universe myself, and in that universe, I wield ice magic. My name is Iceman. Okay, this goes hand in hand. So I wield ice magic, but I never use it. because I don't need to. But in the universe, that's what I wield as magic. Okay, so I have powers too. However, I'm not immortal. I am mortal, and I would die like everyone else, I guess. uh, but yeah. So um, one other thing I want to say is one important thing is during the um, the arsenic the arsenic ritual. Um, even though Elsa split herself into two and then connected the two parts of her soul together, it came at a price, unfortunately, and that is um, essentially like basically she's immortal, but for one exception. There's one exception in which Elsa, either state, the regular state or the alternate state, even this one, could be vulnerable to death. And that is, um, and who the hell knows what would happen if she dies, you know? Because if she dies, really no one would exist, nothing would ever have existed, and nothing ever will exist again. Basically, what would happen if she dies. Basically, during the ritual, what happened was, um, I guess, as as also explained it to me. Sorry, as also explained it to me, the ritual was so difficult to perform um, that. Oh, and before I continue, one thing I need to say real quickly is her Gothic state. Like, even though she's immortal and all that, and she can't die, and same thing with Anna or whatever, even though they're both goddesses and they can't die, you know, or whatever, um, they do feel pain. Emotional, physical, psychological, in that sense, they're completely human. So if you stab them with a knife, they're gonna feel every bit of it, and it'll just be hell because none of them, they won't die, but they would feel every bit of it. So that would be literally like, like that would be absolutely like dreadful. Um, but they do feel pain and all that, so they do have to be careful. Um, so back to what I was saying. I just had to say that, but back to what I was saying. Um, with Elsa, what happens is, um, like during the ritual, um, yeah, during the um, arsenic ritual, I guess according to Elsa, it was so painful and unexplainable at the same time that, like, painful, like physically hurt, painful. She's splitting her soul into two. Like, oh my gosh. But anyways, during that time, that ritual essentially, what it did was, it was able to split her soul into two. Split her soul into two parts. I guess Elsa did not realize that when she binded the two parts of her soul together, that um, that that link, to make that link, um, it required so much dark magic energy that essentially what it did, like when she stripped her ice magic away from her alternate state and gave it to her regular state, when she when she forfeited the ice magic, I guess I guess what happened was when she forfeited her ice magic um, through the soul bind, what that caused was kind of a slight backfire in the sense that that in the sense that um, Elsa could potentially lose her immortality and become vulnerable to death in one certain in a certain situation, in one certain situation. Um, and uh, like you know, because their soul is split into two, they're connected, but just by a link. Um, if for any reason that link is broken, essentially Elsa wouldn't be have a full soul anymore. It would be a broken soul, and it would just dissipate and die, basically. Um, so when she created the link, she realized that when she created the link and she split into her soul into two, she split. She also split some of her immortality, and that one part of immortality is um, can be deadly to both, and essentially because she split her soul into two separate parts, um, she in one case and only one case is vulnerable to death. Um, and who the hell knows what would happen if she did die? But um, basically, um, in one certain scenario, she is vulnerable to death. Uh, and just to clarify, if she wants to be completely 100% immortal and not die at all, ever, all she has to do is essentially, um, do the Arsenic ritual again, but in reverse, to, instead of split her soul, bind, completely bind her soul back together. So instead of it being in two parts linked by, a link, it would be brought back into one, and she would be essentially have um, a 100% soul again, essentially. Um, but at the expense of not having a regular state anymore. The regular state would be non-existent, and she would just have this state. So she would have to show this everywhere. Um, and as of this moment, she doesn't really care if she shows this anymore, because, I mean, like, she's, I don't know, I guess her attitude changed towards it, but you're probably wondering, okay, what's that certain instance where she can die? Well, basically, Elsa is immortal. Both states are completely immortal, except for one instance, and that instance is the only time Elsa is vulnerable to death. Um, uh, the only time when Elsa is vulnerable to death is when she essentially when she does a different ritual, a very specific ritual. Um, she never gave me its name, so I don't know what it is. But basically, long story short, there's another ritual which has the sole purpose of stripping, um, like, uh, stripping immortality, complete godhood from someone. And keep in mind, there's other gods and goddesses in the Narcissus universe. It's not just Elsa. There's other ones. Um, you know, what I'm saying is, Elsa, again, has ultimate power over all of them. So what Elsa can do is, if someone misbehaves, or, you know, if there's someone who starts causing mayhem or whatever, um, Elsa has she has one of two choices. Um, she can strip the person of their magic. Um, Actually, she can do one, or like she can do either essentially a minor punishment or the major punishment. Essentially, the minor punishment is if a god or goddess misbehaves, or goes rogue, or goes corrupt or whatever, and starts killing people or whatever, does damage, and um, Elsa can inflict a minor punishment on the god or goddess by stripping um, the magic powers from them completely. Completely stripping the magic powers. She can do that at any time with no problem. Um, and keep in mind that in the Narcissus universe, gods and goddesses are immortal, all of them. So if there's a god or goddess that, um, if there's if there's a like, okay, so like in it's really confused. I know it's confusing, but basically, being a god or goddess in the Narcissus universe is really like a privilege. Like, I mean, it's something that is not given, by chance, really, or anything like that. Um, Elsa basically picks who becomes what or whatever. Um, the thing is because Elsa is the entire nature of existence as a whole. Um, Basically, she can inflict them if a god or goddess goes rogue. She can either strip the magic powers from them. Like, she can strip the magic powers from them. But keep in mind that if they're a god or goddess, they are also immortal. So, if there's if she strips someone of their magic, if she strips a god or goddess of their magic, they no longer have magic powers. And let me just be clear real quick. Elsa has the power to give magic powers and or immortality to anyone she wishes at any time, easily. However, the opposite is not easy. She can give the powers and immortality like that. She can take away the magic powers like that. Fuck, can't snap. So she can, you know, if she thought someone, you know, you know, deserves godhood or whatever, um, you know, she'll give magic powers. She can give it like that, and she can give immortality too if she wishes, or just one or the other. Um, she can remove the magic powers like that, just end and snap. She can remove the magic powers very easily. So she can give immortality and magic powers easily, and she can remove magic powers easily. What she cannot do easily is remove immortality. It doesn't matter if the person has magic powers and immortality, it doesn't matter. Or just immortality. If she needs to remove immortality, meaning can't die ever, if she needs to remove immortality from, you know, a god or goddess, if she needs to remove the privilege of immortality, that is the one instance where Elsa herself here is vulnerable to death. Because think about it, like, and in that Elsa here would be performing a ritual. The other ritual I was talking about. Basically, if you think about it, what would happen is Elsa herself here is immortal. She's completely immortal. She cannot die. If she can't die, that's a privilege in itself. If Elsa herself can't die. So, if someone else has immortality, but if someone else has immortality, yet needs it removed, needs the immortality removed, essentially, if you think about it, what Elsa here would be doing is basically removing her immortal privilege. Like, she would basically be, to remove someone else's immortal privilege, she has to sacrifice her own as well, temporarily. She never explained why, but she said it's like very complicated. But basically, with that ritual, what happens is Elsa here would be rendered, she'd basically go to sleep. And both of her states would go to sleep. Both of her states would be, you know, would fall asleep. Essentially, it's a temporary ritual. It's a really temporary thing. So, essentially, what would need to happen is during that time when Elsa's stripping godhood from someone, as far as, you know, removing immortality. Again, she can give the privilege of immortality and any magic she wants, like that. No problem. Piece of cake. She needs to punish someone because they, Jesus Christ. If she needs to punish someone because they are using their magic powers for evil purposes, she can, you know, she can remove those magic powers just like that. However, and by the way, someone can have powers but be mortal. Someone can have magic powers and not be immortal. I'm an example in the universe. She can get rid of the magic powers very easily. If she needs to, by any means, strip immortality from someone, essentially, long story short, she needs to sacrifice her own immortality temporarily. And I think it's like Uh, it the length of how long she will fall asleep really depend and like in that time she's completely vulnerable. She's immortal. Sorry, she becomes mortal and she loses all of her powers during this ritual. Elsa, both states will lose all of her powers. Both would be asleep and rendered immobilized, and um, you know, they they're 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 breathing, but that's basically it. They essentially become completely 100% human at that point. I mean, they are human. They're like, the both states become human. Like, I don't like to say human, but like, they become completely mortal. They become completely mortal, and they are prone to any damage, all damage. They're prone to all damage. Um, so during this ritual, um, what would happen is both states of Elsa would both fall asleep, and during that time, essentially what's happening is uh, what Elsa's doing. The reason she falls asleep in the first place during this whole thing is because that's how much energy it actually takes, how much dark magic it takes to actually strip the immortality from a god or goddess that goes rogue or whatever. It's that. It's that. You know. It's that uh, complex and difficult to do. She said that the duration is really unknown. The duration is unknown. However, it's based on exactly um, how 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 bad or corrupt the person has become. To strip immortality in the first place, they would have to do something really, really bad. But essentially, to strip the immortality, it requires uh, Elsa to use all of her energy, all of her dark energy, um, to strip the immortality from anybody. It takes a lot of dark energy to do that, to strip the immortality from someone, and uh, you know, it's always temporary when she has to strip immortality, so she says. But when she strips the immortality, uh, she has to sacrifice her own in order to strip the other person of their immortality, and she's using all of her energy to do that. So she's asleep, and she's completely vulnerable. And so during that time, usually it's um, uh, I think she said that the duration. She said the duration again is very, very random and unknown, but um, it really depends on how. Yeah, it really depends on how bad the person has really truly become. Um, but she said that it never lasts any more than it never ever lasts any longer than uh, than essentially 12 hours really. So like half a day. Um, you know, basically it depends on many factors, but so she says. But um, basically during that time, she's completely vulnerable to death, and you know, in both of her states. And the important thing to remember, though, is the reason she is vulnerable here and has to um, give away some of her immortality uh, to strip someone else of their immortality. The reason she's vulnerable to death at this, you know, during this ritual is because of her soul bind, her other state. Remember, when she split, um, when she split her soul into two, and then soul bound them, linked it together, of her queen state and this state, she gave some of her immortality over to that other state. Because her soul is not technically completely 100% whole and is split into two entities, two separate entities, it's not a full, complete soul, really. So, because it's not complete, she essentially is not completely immortal. So when if she's split into two states, she has been forever, really. When she's split into two states, her soul is not completely 100%, so she doesn't fully have immortality, the gift of immortality. She has all of her magic, but she does not have the full gift, the gift of complete immortality, 100%. But she still has her magic. And it's also worth noting that, again, if Elsa here needs to use, her use ice magic, she would just harness the ice magic from her queen state and use it in her alternate state. And similarly, the queen state, if needing anything from this state, can harness a limited amount, very limited amount of this, of the the alternate states magic here, if approved. So it's really like an approval thing, because this state has ultimate control. You know, think of it as this being 80% Elsa and then the other one being 20%. So because her soul is split into two, again, she's not fully immortal. So there's that exception. And when she strips someone of their immortality, you know, up to 12 hours of waiting, she's completely vulnerable, both states. So neither her regular state or her alternate state is immortal anymore. It's completely immortal. It's completely mortal. And they're both prone to death. And they're both immobilized, which makes them even more vulnerable. But remember, if Elsa performs the arsenic ritual again in reverse and basically takes her queen state and binds that part of her soul back together into the rest of her soul, she will have a complete soul again. And if she decides to get rid of her regular state and just add that back into her alternate state here, which is essentially, you know, the ultimate state, um, she would have a full soul. Therefore, she would have the full gift of complete immortality. So, like, if she didn't have the Queen State in Arendelle or whatever, she would not be able to die by any means at all. No exceptions. But only if her soul is complete and not split into two, essentially, which it is right now. So that's why she has that. Um, that's why Elsa is prone to death. But only when she performs that ritual and has to split someone or take away immortality from a god or goddess. Remember, it can take anywhere from an hour long. It can be as fast as an hour, or it can be as long as 12 hours, but nothing more than that. Um, but essentially, so in recap, Elsa's similar. Um, sorry. Um, in recap, Elsa can give magic. She can give magic and give the gift of immortality to anyone she wishes at any time very easily. She can also, if needed, remove the magic gift from anyone she wishes at any time. However, she cannot remove the gift of immortality from someone without becoming deathly vulnerable. So, vulnerable to death, completely vulnerable to death. If she wants to split someone of their immortality, she becomes vulnerable to death anywhere from an hour long of a sleep to 12 hours, but nothing more than that. But keep in mind, she is only vulnerable to death during, when as she's stripping the immortality, because it's a process. When she's stripping the immortality from someone else, the only reason she's vulnerable to death is because her soul is split into two parts. Two pieces, essentially. Her soul's split into two, as I just explained. But again, remember, if she decides to bind her other part of her soul back together, completing the soul again, she will then have the full gift of immortality herself, completely. And if Elsa basically combined her regular state and became just this state, meaning the other one no longer existed, if she does that, then no matter what she does, she will always be immortal in that respect. So, if there was no Queen Elsa and just a Gothic Elsa, if Elsa decides to take her Queen state and combine it back with her, then completing, essentially who she is, she would, at that point, and only, as a complete whole, only with her soul being complete 100%, would she be able to strip immortality from somebody like that, strip immortality from someone else, without having to go through a ritual or anything like that, no problem. So, if she it basically, adds the rest of her soul back together, then she'd be able to give magic, the gift of magic, to anyone she wishes, give immortality to anyone she wishes, and remove the gift of magic from someone, anyone she wishes, and remove immortality from anyone she wishes with no issues. And, just like that, quickly. But that's only if her soul is complete, meaning she does not have a queen state, and she just has her gothic state, meaning her soul is complete 100%. Right now, her soul is like 80%, 20%. 80% being the gothic state, 20% being the queen state. So, right now, if she needs to strip immortality from someone, she's vulnerable to death. Because her soul is not complete. She doesn't have the full, complete. Her soul is not fully 100% complete, giving her that full 100% gift of immortality completely. So, I'm gonna end it off there because I'm really tired. I'm gonna have to pick up tomorrow, and my voice hurts. But and there's actually still a lot of more stuff that I have to say and explain. Um, but as far as Elsa herself goes and the basics, that's about it. Um, but yeah, as you can see, as you probably have noticed, typing all this out and explaining it through text would be like absolutely hell for me to do that. And it'd be hell for you guys to read it all. It's best if I explain it, you know, like this. If I explain it like this, I can do it much faster. And even this is taking forever. Okay, so that's all for this far, guys. I'm gonna go to bed. So I hope you liked it. Well, hope you enjoyed the story. I mean, again, it's ongoing, so uh, I'm gonna keep adding to it and stuff. But I still have some more backstory to explain because I still need to go through. Um, Come on. I still need to go through what's happening with essentially these characters here, my dad's characters, because they're very important to the Narcissus as well. So I need to go through who these two are here, essentially, and because these two are very important. So I need to go, especially this one right here. So I need to go into these two as well, but I'll do that tomorrow after I get sleep. So, alright, that's all for this part, folks. I'm gonna go to bed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good night.